I imagine we've all had this experience, and I want to know what you do. When you know that tomorrow morning you have to, when you leave the house, you have to remember to bring something with you. You're going to a meeting, or you're going to work, or you're going to school, or you're going on a trip, or a date, or whatever it is, and you've got to bring that thing. And it's important because if you don't bring it, you might lose your job, or the date might not go so great, or whatever it is. What do you do to make sure you remember it?
Leave it at the door.
Leave it at the door, right? It's universal. Has everybody done that? If you hang it on the doorknob, or you put it where you'll trip over it. And why do we do that? You could just have a seat right there, and then we'll fit you in a minute. Yeah. Well, okay, I won't speak for y'all. I'll tell you why I do it. I do it because my mind is not very smart. My mind is pretty dumb. So especially maybe first thing in the morning when I'm, like some tea, breakfast, shower, get everything ready, shave my head, get you out the door, and not thinking clearly. But then I stumble upon that thing, and it's like, oh, what's that? Oh, yeah, duh, I want to take that with me. I need to take that with me. So it's a way of tricking our mind, because minds aren't so bright, usually. They're, as the saying goes, minds are very good servants. They're not such good masters. You all know Abraham Maslow? He's a traditional healer that lives in New Kuning. No, just kidding. Abraham Maslow. If you know him, that was a joke, but if you don't, that was meaningless. Psychologist, pioneer in personal development movement, lived for a long time at Esalen Institute. Really amazing guy. He developed the concept of peak experience, or at least that phraseology for it. Maslow's hierarchy of needs, you may have heard of. Anyway, here's something he said which pertains to us as yogis. Become aware of internal, subjective, subverbal experiences, so that these experiences can be brought into the world of abstraction, of conversation, of naming, etc., with the consequence that it immediately becomes possible for a certain amount of control to be exerted over these hither unconscious and uncontrollable processes. God help you if your first language isn't English. It's hard enough if your first language was English. So I'll paraphrase what he said. The things that go on inside us that are not necessarily clear, conscious in words, if we develop this practice of becoming aware of those things and finding a way to name them, finding a way to speak about them, then things that seemed like they were out of our control start to come into our control. Which is essentially what that little trick is of putting something by the door. Because if we didn't put it by the door in the morning, we might forget it, because it stayed below the level of consciousness. So how does it work with yoga? How does it fit with yoga? In the traditional way of looking at life, the body, the mind, there's lots of things that we're told we cannot control. For instance, you can't control digestion. There are many people that believe you can't control breathing. Can't control things like what your mind is thinking about. And if you've ever meditated, you probably know that that can be true. Yet, the heartbeat. You can't control the heartbeat. Respiration, another one. Yet, yogis have been learning over time that actually all those things are controllable. And Swami Rama was studied in Harvard Medical Center 20-something years ago and showed that he could, at will, stop his heartbeat. Western science said, no way, and then so he proved it. It's possible to sit in a pool of water. It's good that we're filming this. Right? It's possible to sit in a pool of water and open your anal sphincter and draw water up into it. Everybody wants to do that, I know. You save a lot of money on colonics if you do that. And some of those things may be helpful, some of them may not be so helpful. What is helpful, though, is being able to control what we focus our mind on. Because we can focus it on problems all the time, or we can focus it on solutions all the time. We can focus it on complaining, or we can focus it on gratitude. And here's where the yoga asana practice becomes very helpful. It has to do with a term called ekagrata. And ekagrata from Sanskrit means single-pointed focus. And if we develop a single-pointed focus, the ability to focus our mind on one thing, anything is possible. And if we don't do that, we're like a sailboat with no rudder. We're just going anywhere, subject to everything that happens out there. And not that the point of it all is to control everything. The point is to control the things that are helpful in a way that we can surrender to the things that are helpful. Or Mr. Miyagi put it clearly in The Karate Kid. If any of you saw that film. He said to his young student, he said, "Why do we train?" Talking about karate. Why do we train? And the kid was getting ready for a fight. He said, "Why do we train?" And then the kid stopped and thought about it, found the right answer. And the right answer was so that we don't have to fight. So in the same way, why do we train with yoga? Why do we develop such control over the body and the breath? So that we don't need any control. So then our automatic mechanism becomes gratitude, becomes a way of walking through life without effort. Sound like a worthy experiment? If you're just here to stretch your hamstrings, fear not, we'll get to that too.